Trikes, not motorbikes or cars, were the first motorised vehicles to race in Britain. And tomorrow, Brooklands is hosting a trike event, organised by keen racer and hot favourite to win, Nick Pellet.
So here we have my motor tricycles from the Victorian period. They go from 1898, 1899, 1899. Made by Didier and Bouton in Paris. One wheel at the front, two wheels at the back. The engine and all the equipment is at the back, and you have two brakes. A front brake which works on the hub here, and a rear brake which works on the transmission, which is here. On the back we've got a single cylinder air-cooled engine, 2¼ horsepower.
Trikes are the forgotten vehicles of British motoring history. But in the late 1890s, if you were going to ride on the nation's potholed, pitted, slippery roads, three wheels were far more stable than two. And when it comes to racing, trikes had a huge advantage over cars.
The whole point of the tricycle is that it weighs a fraction of a four-wheeled motor car. You do not need a 10 or 12 horsepower engine to make this go. You can use a very small engine.
The engines may have been impressive, but getting them started, well, not so much.
So the first thing you do is to put the ignition pin here, and that makes the circuit. Then we have to decompress the engine. Then we set the levers, the mixture of the air and the fuel, and then we set the accelerator. Then you start pedaling like mad.
I'm beginning to see why they fell out of favour.
Riding a trike is like riding a horse. You get the best out of it if you feel you're part of it, you're not on it, you're part of it. A trike has a rhythm, and you get into the rhythm. You can't ask it to do something that it's not happy to do. It will tip you up, it will tip you over.
Nick's tipped to do well, but Brooklands volunteer Roger Horsfield also wants to get amongst the medals. Think Hamilton versus Verstappen, but a bit slower.
Got my toolkit.
Today, Roger's making sure his trike is race ready, but it's been playing up recently.
So I brought in my 1899 Phoebus trike, so you can do the maths, it's 122 years old. This is the first time I've actually been able to use it since 2018.
Nick and Roger share a love of trikes and competing.
We've got a bit of a real contest between us. Nick, I think, is a very competitive person, so it'll be a real needle match, so it should be quite an interesting race, that one. So I need to make sure it's going okay, which is what I've got a problem with at the moment. It looks like it's all ready to give it a go.
Roger starts by jacking up his 1899 Phoebus, which will make it much easier to start.
So I can now pedal it and see what happens. Ooh. We'll give it some choke. So we'll give it a go. All right, here we go. So it's not even firing. I'll have to investigate the spark now, or lack of spark. I should be able to see if there's a spark or not, but I can see there's no spark whatsoever. So that's a pretty good clue that all is not well. Oh, it's better than a gym, particularly when it doesn't start, that is.
Next, Roger checks the electrical contacts, which have to be perfectly positioned if the spark plugs are to ignite.
The contacts look okay, and the gap looks right. I'd need to look elsewhere. It's got race nerves, I think. That's what it is.
The race is in 24 hours' time, and Nick's trikes are running like a dream. If he wants to compete, Roger needs to fix his Phoebus fast.
I've been really looking forward to racing, so I hope I can get it going, because it'll be a real disappointment if I can't get it going. There's no consolation in standing watching everyone else go around.
Roger's running out of fixes. His last hope is replacing the coil in the ignition system.
So it's a bit fiddly.
The coil helps generate the volts required for the spark plugs to ignite and combustion to happen.
Right, I've got another coil here, which is brand new. Luckily, it's exactly the same size. Just going to give it a go now. Let's see what happens. Right, okay, let me get on the beast. Switch on. Right, decompress, here we go. exhausted, but it's going. Right, so we should be okay for tomorrow.
From 3 wheels to 4.